The unfortunate onslaught of the COVID pandemic has left three very interesting and unexpected side effects on the post COVID workplace. First, work from home is no longer just for the cool kids anymore. Second, you're on mute is the most spoken line in the workplace today. And third, last but not least, there is a lot of talk and interest about automation in the workplace. And one aspect of this automation is RPA, that is Robotic Process Automation. Whether you have returned to offices full time or part time, or you just catch up with your team on a Zoom or Team session every week, you've at least been a part of some form of conversation about automation that sometimes sounds like this.
And now these people from the future are showing up and offering to do the same work for next to nothing. They took our jobs.
Okay, jokes aside, but if you feel like you hear that conversation almost everywhere you go today, you're not alone. Everyone's talking about RPA, and it's with good reason. There are four interconnected reasons why robotic process automation is such a hot topic around the water cooler today, and we are going to discuss them in this first episode of RPA for Everyone podcast. So let's get started. My name is Ash, and I have a channel called RPA for Everyone on YouTube, and I talk about robotic process automation and trying to make it easy and accessible to everyone. That's why the name. Going back to the four reasons why everyone should care and learn about robotic process automation, first one is obviously interest. There is a lot of interest in this technology, and not just amongst the people or the employees. A lot of companies, their high level management are considering automation as an important strategy of their company's growth going forward, which means they're going to invest more and explore more opportunities with automation. Thereby their employees and their entire workforce will eventually be required to either learn or work with automation at least. The second reason you should know and learn about RPA is that many companies have already implemented RPA in their current workforce, which means any potential company that you're going to join in future, there's a good likelihood that they already are using RPA. Knowing RPA, what it does, what it's all about, might actually come in handy with your job interviews, and just having a general awareness as to what robots are actually doing in the workplace. That definitely weighs in very heavily on resumes today, even though you are not individually or personally involved in the automation efforts of your current organization. Everyone's going to care how much you know and can benefit from knowing what automation does, because that's also an important part of having automation in the company, that the people are aware of what robots can do for them. Third important reason is that robotic process automation technology is very versatile. What does that mean? It means that this software, the technology, can be implemented across any department of an organization. You could automate HR processes, you could automate finance processes, you could automate invoicing processes, which means every company has many different uses for the same technology, and they could fit it into any department. So it doesn't matter really if you work with a technical team in an integrated way, because no matter which department you're in, there is a good chance that automation is coming to your team if it hasn't already. And knowing what that automation is going to do to, or how it's going to affect your current role, is essential for your career and also your company's growth. So no matter what department you're in, your company will depend on your knowledge to succeed in their strategy with automation, which also automatically means that it's important for you to know what automation can do for you and how you can make your team succeed. That's number three. And number four, as I said, they are interconnected reasons. The fourth is that whether or not an automation is actually directly connected to how you work, but there is a good chance that directly or indirectly it's going to affect how your team works or how your processes work in general. And what's more, these four reasons are not limited to just larger businesses or big corporate companies. Small to medium businesses have also started to implement robotic process automation, and that means every level of any organization, no matter the size, is getting impacted by what the automations can do for them and how they can save time for the people to do important things. Now, if you're a solopreneur trying to wear many hats in your organization, trying to play the role of admin, HR, finances, sending invoices out, tracking invoices, tracking whether payments have been received, and all of these things, they could be automated to certain degree, even on a single person business level, and just by running something called an attended automation, as we'll see in future episodes. The attended automation is something you can run on command. There is no set schedule. You could just set things up for the robot and it would run literally just on your machine, and you wouldn't even need to have a big infrastructure. You can simply run an automation quickly on your machine. It'll get you the answer that you need, or it'll get you just the one task that you need to complete without having to actually do it. You just press a button and the robot will go and do that job for you. That's the power of automation that is possible today for you, and sometimes even free of charge, free of cost. And we will dig into all of that in future episodes, how that can happen for you if you're a solopreneur or trying to run a small business where multiple roles need to be played by one person or more. So what is RPA for Everyone podcast about? The reason to start this podcast is twofold. First, this is a new technology. Robotic process automation was launched quite a few years ago, but in the last 6 to 7 years, as of 2023, the last 6 or 7 years have been really crucial in the growth of the technology. And there are a lot of platforms, that is solution providers, who have been doing significant work in developing and revolutionizing the robotic process automation field. So there is a lot of software updates coming out every 6 months. We keep hearing about a certain platform coming up with this new awesome technology, and then other platforms are also trying to work in that direction, making their product better. So there is a healthy competition in the industry right now, and there is a lot of information to keep track of. So part of the reason to start this podcast is to compile all this information and share it with the larger RPA community, and hopefully get a little education myself in the field. The second and more important reason is, as I covered in the first half of this episode, robotic process automation is actually making its way into every department of every company, every industry. So that means there's good reason for anyone, no matter if they're working in a technical role or completely administrative or HR or finance. They could be miles away from any kind of technology, but even if you use Excel in your day-to-day life, there is a good chance that automation will be some part of that in future. And that's why I want you to learn about robotic process automation, at least to a level where you can have an informed conversation about the technology when it gets discussed in any kind of setting around your workplace. So this is it. That's what RPA for Everyone podcast is all about. And I am a big fan of free education for all. So I would like to bring all this information to you through this YouTube podcast format, and also it's available on all audio podcast platforms that you may listen to on, like Apple and Google or any others that you may use. So subscribe to the podcast so that you can be informed of the future episodes as they are released. The next episode is going to be called the ABCD of RPA, where we'll explore the most important 4 pillars of what your career in automation will be based on. So subscribe and you'll get notified as soon as that episode is dropped. Thanks.